The sitting is resumed.
Revert to papers.
Honourable Member St. Philip West.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I am commanded to lay the Fiscal Risk Statement 2026. And on behalf of the Minister of Tourism and International Transport, I am commanded to lay annual reports and audited financial statements of the Barbados Port, Inc. for the year ended March 31st, 2024, and the annual reports and audited financial statements of Hotels and Resorts Limited for the year ended March 31st, 2025.
Revert to government business.
Honourable Member for St. Lucie.
Mr. Speaker, let me first begin by stating my extreme gratitude to the wonderful people, the good people of the constituency of St. Lucie for again reposing their confidence in your humble servant to represent their best interests in this honorable House. I do not take this lightly, Mr. Speaker, because we have gone through quite a lot as a constituency. We have had real challenges over the past year or so, till it have come to a point where across this country, from time to time, people have made mock sport at us due to the water situation which we have encountered, which we are still to some extent encountering, but thankfully which this administration is working assiduously to correct that issue. I want to express my thanks on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker, to the Honourable Prime Minister and to her ministry, the Ministry of Finance, for providing the resources through which we can undertake the massive mains replacement program, which is continuing all over St. Lucie, from east to west, from north to south, central St. Lucie. That mains replacement program is continuing. And I am grateful and I express thanks on the behalf of the people who have sent me here for the third consecutive time. I am truly grateful, and certainly I will do my best to represent them with every sinew, every ounce of blood in my body. I will do my best to represent them because they deserve better. They deserve it. Mr. Speaker, I am thankful as I reviewed this budget and the measures represented in the little time that I had, as I am the first speaker this morning, and received the report kind of late, but nevertheless, I spent the time going through, noting those measures which will benefit my constituents. I want to echo the sentiments or quote part of the presentation, just a line or two of this presentation made yesterday, this evening. And I will replace the word we with I. I have not come to declare victory, but I have come to prove to the people of St. Lucie why they place confidence in me as their representative. This Barbados Labour Party administration has done well in the difficult circumstances that we have faced as a government. In the difficult circumstances thrown at us because of what is happening in the world. In the difficult circumstances, Mr. Speaker, which presented themselves, not our fault, but we do not run away, and we will not run away from what we are faced with. We have stood up and we are standing up to fix the issues and to deal with the issues which have presented themselves. Mr. Speaker, I did not plan to speak in this order in terms of what I'm going to talk about, but I must speak first and express my deep support for the decision of this administration that when a previous Barbados Labour Party administration was bandied and cursed and harassed by the opposition for its decision to build flyovers. That is a decision, Mr. Speaker, which I support this administration in revisiting because it is what has become necessary. We saw the then administration saw down the line, down the road, what could have happened. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you experience it, but like you, like we do, we leave home extremely. I left home early this morning to get here, to be on time to do the people's business. And what I encountered this morning, and I've encountered on many mornings in terms of traffic, it is horrendous. And therefore, I would support 1,000% the decision of the government to revisit the building of these flyovers, Mr. Speaker. Traffic backed up from as far back as the entrance to Haman's Market, right up to the lights at Westmoreland. And you can ask anybody who come in this house who have come from the north. Or you can ask any person on the outside on the street what the traffic is like on mornings. I'm sure that those persons coming from places like St. Philip and Christchurch would encounter similar challenges with traffic. We need and we must do something about traffic management. The north has become, which was one of those areas where you could get to and from quite easily on mornings. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the honourable member from St. Andrew will support me in this. It has been a horror story. It is a horror story on mornings when you're coming from the north. I suppose we're coming from all over Barbados. And do not dare feel or hope that there's an accident along the way. That makes it even worse. So I support this measure by this administration to revisit that particular aspect of traffic management, Mr. Speaker, and certainly when they have the meeting at the Alexandra School, I will be there to lend my voice and to assist in putting together what would be required to really deal, Mr. Speaker, with this situation in terms of traffic management on our roads. We have had situations, Mr. Speaker, where as we move along, even outside of the construction, the massive construction that is going on across this country, which to some extent at some point in time would cause that situation, Mr. Speaker, we need and we will. The consultation will take place, and I know you will get information coming from almost every resident in the north to support the building of these flyovers to enable traffic to flow much more freely than it currently is doing. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak to the budgetary measures brought to this Honourable House yesterday. And one of those measures would be the assistance being given to pensioners. I happen to listen to the call-in program. Not I happen to listen. I usually listen to the call-in program when I'm at home. And every day, Mr. Speaker, every day there is a group of about 2 or 3 persons that would call in. And no matter, Honourable Member for St. Joseph, what the government is doing or what the government has done to address certain situations in Barbados, it is never enough. And we understand that, Mr. Speaker. We understand that because the more you get, the more you want. That is human nature. Honourable Member for St. Michael East, you would agree with me that that is how people are. But you will always also agree with me that this government, this administration has never run away from the challenges that it faced. We have always stood up and responded to the people of Barbados. And sometimes I have in my head, I think sometimes, we can't be always necessarily giving the people what they want, because sometimes people look at the narrow picture of things that would affect them. But we as a government have to look at the broader picture as it affects the country, and we have to address it based on that situation. But Mr. Speaker, we have responded in terms of what is happening worldwide. Something unexpected, something which we have no control over in terms of energy costs, Mr. Speaker. But we have responded as a government, and the decision to pay half of the increases for those persons is a decision to be applauded, Mr. Speaker. Persons in Quayville and Avistown and Harmony and Bentams would welcome that, Mr. Speaker, because we have cushioned the blow. Do we really understand what it is that your light bill will go up by $32 more than what it currently is? But it is already high, and people complain, Mr. Speaker. They complain, but that is an external shock which we cannot control. But the government, in its budgetary measures, has taken the decision to accept or to assist with half, $16. So rather than going up by $32, Mr. Speaker, it will be by $16 because the government will pay half of that cost. And that is commendable. That is something which we applaud. That is something which I am grateful for on the behalf of the people of St. Lucie, Mr. Speaker. We move, Mr. Speaker, to the agricultural sector. Now, I had the opportunity for a short 2 years to work in the Ministry of Agriculture along with the Honourable Member for St. Philip South for 2 years. Mr. Speaker, I now have the opportunity to work with the new minister, not in the ministry, but as the representative of one of the largest farming communities in Barbados. They have 2, River and Mount Poyer and Spring Hall. And I have spoken to this new minister, who I'm sure is all eager to get in there and get some work done. I have spoken to her, Mr. Speaker, to doing a visit to the farmers in those areas. I myself have visited on more than one occasion to see the conditions and what the farmers have to go through, particularly the farmers in Mount Poyer, who are eager and who are doing their best at great cost, Mr. Speaker, who have several challenges. And one of these challenges, Honourable Member for Christchurch South, one of these challenges is the entrance and exit to their farms, the cart roads. The government had said prior that we would enter into a cart road program in terms of fixing those roads to have proper access for these farmers. I have seen, Mr. Speaker, and I spoke to a farmer, I have seen, Mr. Speaker, where a farmer heading a bag of watermelons, heavy watermelons, walking some distance from where the farm is to the front road to load those watermelons, because when it rains, it is absolutely horrendous. It is absolutely horrendous in terms of transporting their produce. And Mr. Speaker, I will push, and I will push hard, and I will work with them hard to make sure and to urge the Honourable Minister, who I know love a challenge, to be able to correct this issue for the farmers. We talk about the breadbasket of Barbados. Those farmers in St. Lucie are making a tremendous contribution to this country and the food and to reduction of the food import bill. They're making a tremendous contribution, but Mr. Speaker, I think we need some ease. I know they have been given water tanks, but even the water tanks is a good idea, but when you look at it, and I've had hands-on experience, Mr. Speaker. I've gone and I've looked at it with my two eyes, where the pressure coming because of the water coming from the water, the pressure is so low. The pressure is so low that it does not, you have to make additions, you have to purchase something like a pump to push the water pressure to be able to wet those plants that you have. It is extremely difficult, and I expected that we would have done a bit more in terms of agriculture for the farmers. I would, when I speak with the Honourable Minister, I would propose, there are other things that I would propose to her in that conversation. But the farmers at Mount Poyer need additional help. The input can be very costly, but because they love what they do, because they want to help not just their parish, but they want to help Barbados on the whole, they are doing their best and pushing hard. But you know, Mr. Speaker, no one operates or works in a business that is not profitable to them. And I believe to some extent that is why from time to time we have seen people giving up and say they're done with that because of the cost that is incurred from time to time. So, Mr. Speaker, I certainly do hope that coming out of my discussion and conversation with the Honourable Minister, that we will come up with workable, tangible solutions that will benefit the farmers and ultimately benefit Barbados at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker. I also want to comment, Mr. Speaker, on the reduction of the energy costs, the measures taken to reduce the cost of energy for Barbadians and for our constituents. Mr. Speaker, I heard on the call-in program a few days ago where it was stated that the government ain't doing anything for people, ain't doing anything for pensioners. The cost of living going up, and the pensioners ain't getting nothing. And you must agree, Mr. Speaker, that pensioners operate off a fixed income. They operate off a fixed income. Honourable Member, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Honourable Member for St. Peter, they operate off a fixed income. My pensioners and your pensioners, all our pensioners operate off a fixed income. And therefore, when costs go up, they still have the same money to buy the things that have risen. But this government has taken in these budgetary measures to give them, at least, Mr. Speaker, $100. Some people say it's not enough, what it can do, but it is a start. It is a start, and I'm sure, and I want to express gratitude on behalf of those from my constituency to the government for that measure in assisting with that $100, Mr. Speaker. And let me say as well, while I'm at it, Mr. Speaker, we understand that as a country that has no natural resources, these things can challenge us. But we also understand that you do not sit down and fold your hands or cross your feet and say whatever happened, happened. We are entrusted with the management of this country, Mr. Speaker. We are entrusted with dealing with the issues that confront us every single day. And therefore, different issues obviously demand different responses. Last year, at the top of the list, in the scheme of things within my constituency, it was the issue, the vexing issue, Mr. Speaker, of brown water. This government has taken the opportunity and continues to work to alleviate this issue within the constituency of St. Lucie. And for this, we are grateful. What I would ask, however, that at the end of the day, when these mains are being replaced, I noticed that we have second debate on it. We have second debate on it, Mr. Speaker. And what I would know is that when the mains are replaced, that the road is properly reinstated. We started to do it, Mr. Speaker, and as I drive across the constituency from east to west, because from east to west, mains are being replaced, the road is being widened, Mr. Speaker. So that's the benefit that we're getting. But equally, we are getting that benefit, but we are also getting the issue where the roads are not being reinstated, and it is causing damage to vehicles as they traverse the country, the parish, Mr. Speaker, from one area to the next. And I am asking through this, on this floor of the House, that the BWA do a consistent reinstatement of the roads, not one side for a short period of time and then you leave it and all over it, because a lot of work is happening. A lot of work is happening in my constituency, and I'm grateful for it. But equally, I also want that the right things are being done to the people. When you do the work, reinstate the roads. That is all we ask, Mr. Speaker. And I'm sure that the people of St. Lucie will be very happy, and St. Peter too, and St. Peter will speak, for I know that he has mouth for himself. And I know you would hear him large in this honorable chamber at some point in time. But we work together as two parishes of the North. I also heard, Mr. Speaker, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I also heard in the budget something in relation to swimming pools, one in the south, one in St. Michael, and nothing. I have not heard anything for the north of the country. Pardon? Whole town. Whole town, and in the south. I ain't heard nothing past whole town. Well, the north is the top of the country. The north is the head of the country. And I want to sound my voice to represent the north here this morning, that we need to be considered, Honourable Minister, we need to be considered too. Something must happen in the north. I want to also sound my voice, Mr. Speaker, in relation to the further development of Archers Bay. We have had a lovely park over there, and nothing else has happened to it since we opened it. I want to sound my voice in this honorable chamber today that we need the development of Archers Bay, both the park area and the play area where the youngsters gather on the evenings to play football. It cannot just be a pasture or a place with picnic spots. People are complaining. They have complained to me repeatedly. I've spoken to the honorable member for Christchurch West when he was in a position that we need the bathroom facilities at Archers Bay. We need our courts at Archers Bay. We don't just want a nice facility. Everybody say we like down here and all of that. Many people come every Sunday, every weekend, Mr. Speaker. Every weekend. Buses come, churches have picnics. They come, but they always go to King George V Memorial Park. We have a park in St. Lucie that used to be a lovely place many, many years ago when I was a little boy. Well, I'm a man now, and I am charged with the responsibility to get it back and go beyond where it was then. And Mr. Speaker, you're going to hear my voice in this honorable house and elsewhere if proper development is not done for Archers Bay. We have the opportunity now. I believe we have the money now. Let us get to it. Cannot take forever, and I'm not going to leave this house. I'm not going to leave this house without representing until something is done with Archers Bay and the development, the future development of Archers Bay. Honorable Member for St. Michael East. I'm learning from you. It needs to happen because really and truly, and you're laughing, but I'm dead serious. Really and truly, it is a nice area. The residents have complained all during the campaign. The residents complain. What is happening? Nothing is happening up there. There is benefit for them too because when persons come into the area, people who are selling their waters, their juices, and so on, the economic benefit for them is that persons will make purchases. But if everybody stops coming, and we have a wasteland over there, that means that there's no money that will be spent. The little small shop in Crab Hill, the small shop in Davistown, or the shop coming across below the Jordan School at Trent. They have nobody to patronize because people have stopped coming. But I am sure the government has it within them. I'm sure the government has the finances. I'm sure the agency responsible, which was previously headed by the honorable member for St. Michael, that is Chris. What was it? St. Michael West. He used to head he used to be part of that. I'm so upset. I'm even forgetting the members' constituency. But when the honorable member for St. Michael West was in that position, he was pushing for it. And I want to see that same energy from whoever would have taken over from him at BTI or BTII, whichever it is, to get back to that position where development at Archers Bay becomes top of the list of work to be done. Don't think that because it is in St. Lucie that in the back of things. St. Lucie is the top parish, the first parish in Barbados is at the head of Barbados. Without a head, you're dead.
Your honorable member has 2 more minutes.
I have 2 more minutes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I will utilize my two minutes. My two minutes quickly, Mr. Speaker, to give my support to the measures presented yesterday, to urge the government to continue to do what it is doing, the good work that it is doing, but to also remember you have done well. We have had a lot of assistance in St. Lucie through this administration for when the when Labour's Bajan succeed. But Mr. Speaker, there's yet more work to be done. There's yet more to be done in St. Lucie. There's yet more to be done on the behalf of the constituents of St. Lucie, the constituents and residents of St. Lucie. And while I support these budgetary measures, Mr. Speaker, I will urge the government to continue and to focus, and let's have some more of the pie in St. Lucie. I'm obliged to you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member St. Michael Northwest.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I rise to give thanks to God and to the good people of St. Michael Northwest for placing their trust and confidence in me and the Barbados Labour Party government. Sir, I wish to echo the words of Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Sir, the key words in Jeremiah 29:11, the words hope and a future, are a perfect example, sir, of what the Barbados Labour Party and the member for Christchurch East Central delivered to the good people of Barbados yesterday during the budgetary proposals 2026 to 2027. They receive hope and a future, Mr. Speaker, sir. I am pleased, sir, to be a part of a government that let actions define who we are as a government and not just talk. I am pleased, sir, to be a part of a government that has the interests and the people of Barbados at heart. Suffice to say that I wholeheartedly support these budgetary proposals 2026 to 2027 because I know that in the new financial year, sir, I can continue to work hard and deliver more services to the good people of St. Michael Northwest. Sir, this government placing a fuel price cap on gasoline and diesel can directly help poor and working class within our society because freight costs affect almost everything, from food prices to bus fare and the cost of doing business. Such a move by this government has several economic and social benefits, especially for the ordinary people and businesses in Barbados. I wish to identify one, immediate relief for households. The 15% reduction per litre for the next 3 months lower the cost of gasoline and diesel. This, sir, directly helps families who rely on their vehicles to get to work, take their children to school, and daily living. Lower fuel costs mean more disposable income, sir, that you will be able to buy groceries, pay your utilities, and rent. Lower fuel costs, sir. This means that the public transportation operators, taxi drivers, delivery services, and small transport businesses benefit from cheaper fuel costs. Reduce cost of goods. Many goods in Barbados, sir, are transported by trucks. Lower diesel prices reduce freight costs, which can help stabilize price fluctuations of food and other consumer goods. Protection from global through a price shock, sir. By capping VAT on fuel, this government shields consumers who will be protected from sudden spikes in international oil prices. This creates price stability during uncertain global conditions, Mr. Speaker, sir. Support for small businesses. Businesses that rely on fuel, such as construction, fishing, agriculture, and delivery services, will see lower operating costs. This will help protect jobs, sir, and maintain economic activity. Inflation control. Fuel is a major driver of inflation, and reducing taxes or capping fuel costs can help ease overall inflation pressure across this economy, sir. And it also shows economic confidence. Policies like this is a signal that the government is actively trying to manage the cost of living, which can improve public and business confidence. In simple terms, this policy aims to reduce the cost of living, stabilize fuel prices, support businesses, and protect citizens while global energy prices remain uncertain. Most of all, I can admit that these policies will benefit my beloved constituents. Sir, I can honestly say that my love for my constituents remain unconditional. I know that. And helping seniors manage the rising cost of living is something that I'm very passionate about. And the policy that was put in place, sir, can only become a reality through a government that cares about people. And $100 a month cost of living cash credit gives direct financial support to seniors across Barbados. And this will help them, sir, to pay for essentials such as medication, paying their water bill, sir, their light bill, buying food, and even transportation. And we have so many elderly persons on fixed income, and this extra money can significantly help ease any financial pressure in relation to the seniors across this country. More income is tax-free. Increasing the tax-free allowance from $50,000 to $75,000, sir, means that more pensioners will benefit from not paying taxes, especially those seniors who are still gainfully employed or benefit from other income streams. For example, sir, you know, some elderly people may have properties rented. And you want to know, sir, the real beauty about this policy? It supports seniors without a pension income. Barbadians 67 years or older who receive no pension but receive a non-contributory pension also qualify, which is important because some elderly persons, sir, work in formal jobs. Some elderly persons did not contribute enough to earn a pension but receiving a non-contributory pension or have no retirement savings. This policy will help many elderly persons from falling into poverty during these challenging times. This is a policy, sir, that will help stimulate the local economy. When elderly persons receive extra money, sir, they typically spend it in their communities, whether going to a shop in the community, sir, whether going to a pharmacy in the community, or even to a doctor's office. And it will also be spent on local services. This will circulate money back into the economy and support many small businesses. The overall impact of this policy, sir, improves financial security, dignity, and quality of life for seniors, while also providing targeted economic relief during periods of rising cost of living. Can you imagine, sir, the Democratic Labour Party managing this economy during a time like this? During these times, it really takes a prudent, skillful, and experienced government to govern and lead the way that the Barbados Labour Party leads and manages this economy. This is what the Barbados Labour Party government has done and continues to do for the good people of Barbados. This is a policy, sir, that relates to custom duty reform, changes on how import taxes are calculated. Sir, such a policy, instead of taxing the CIF value, cost, insurance, and freight, this government will now tax the FOB value, cost of goods only. This will lower import taxes, and duties will be calculated on the cost of goods only and not just the shipping costs. Since freight costs have risen globally, removing them from the tax calculation reduces overall taxes. This policy will lower prices for consumers, Mr. Speaker, sir. Construction materials, which, you know, sir, we import a lot of what we consume. So construction materials should become more affordable. We have a lot of people who are trying to acquire their own homes and complete renovations, and this policy will assist in ensuring that homes are built within budget. Renovations or projects that people may be executing can be executed within budget. This policy will also benefit small contractors. It will be able to offer more affordable solutions to their clients. As a result of paying duties on the cost of goods, businesses can pass those savings to customers, hence more affordable basket of goods for household. Importers and small businesses will pay less duty upfront, improving cash flow and making it easier to keep prices competitive. In simple terms, people will not be heavily taxed on high shipping costs, which can help make goods cheaper and make cost of living more manageable. Sir, this policy means that Bajans don't suffer because of external shocks within the global economy. These policies build trust and shows that leadership is proactive and people-focused. I trust, sir, that during the new financial year, I will be able, sir, sitting on the back bench, to get more jobs for my constituents from the various government departments, such as the Ministry of Transport and Works, Barbados Water Authority, NCC, also more jobs in the CV program, the Social Empowerment Agency, National Assistance Board, to mention. The Ministry of Education, which I hold my good friend, from St. James North, to fulfill. And the Ministry of Health and Wellness. I trust that during the new financial year, sir, that my constituents will be able to benefit as well from a refurbished Deacons Development Center, the member of St. John, that is in your hands. More roads, rehabilitation of projects. More housing solutions, sir, to benefit families who are still utilizing pit toilets within my constituency, sir. Sir, I hope that in this financial year, I will be able to build another 10 or 15 houses, and by the end of this term, probably 50 or 55. Because, sir, the need for housing is in great demand. And I know that in the urban community, sir, we have a lot of families who live in substandard conditions, and because of land issues, sometimes the Rural and Urban Development Commission, sir, they are unable to help these families because of the land issues that some of these families may be encountering. And I hope that within this year, sir, that when it relates to land and people who live in urban housing having issues with land, that this government will be able to do more to help rectify those issues so that those families, sir, will be able to benefit from the Rural and Urban Development Commission. Sir, I trust that in the new financial year, that my constituents will benefit significantly in more ways than one. And I wish, sir, to say that there are many projects that were started under my stewardship, and I hope that within this new financial year, sir, that I will be able to install more streetlights across my constituency, sir. I will be able to continue the tree trimming that was started. I will be able to continue the maintenance on a lot of the problematic drainage systems across my constituency, sir. I will be able to continue the maintenance and beautification through the 360-degree program, sir. And I trust, sir, that this financial year will impact the lives of my constituents in meaningful and significant ways, sir. And with those few words, sir, I wish to support these budgetary proposals 2026 to 2027. Thank you, and God bless.
Honourable Member for St. Philip West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, between yesterday and this morning, since the budgetary proposals were done, I have heard from a number of my constituents from St. Philip West, and I want to thank those who have reached out to share their thoughts on this budget. And, sir, I want to report that by and large, they were very positive, sir. The people of St. Philip West seem encouraged by this budget. And a couple of them, sir, I must add, came from over by Britain, number 1, where the road, the Carrot Road, has finally started. And they were happy not only about the road, but the budget was also something about which they were happy, sir. And I must say I joined them in being happy. One of the things that was appreciated, sir, was that this budget called for us to look at now but also to prepare for the future. It was not a short-sighted budget, sir. It looked at the present, and it also called to us to give some consideration to the future and what our part in it must be. You heard the honourable member from Christchurch East Central and our Minister of Finance deliver an outstanding budget yesterday. And one of the things that I took away from it is certainly that if war and the warfare that we have now on tariffs and on territory and on trade and on all the political touchiness that is going around, should this continue, we see what is coming down the pipeline. And sir, what would be coming at us if this continues? It is not pretty, either for Barbados or for the rest of the world. But this Barbados Labour Party government, as is true to our nature, we face tough times. And we tend to be forward-looking as to what it is we need to do now in order to make sure that as things progress, we are able to buffer our people. Sir, this budget of 2026, it seeks to make sure that the people of this country who will be impacted, even though we never started wars, and even though we can't stop tariffs, and even though we can't control trade, the people of this country will be impacted, and this budget seeks to make sure that they will not suffer through it by themselves. Sir, cost of living has been a word on the tongue of many, and justifiably so, because you understand, sir, that cost of living does not just affect people out there, it affects all of us in here. When we go to the supermarket, sir, the same price that a pensioner will pay is the same price that someone who is the CEO of a large corporation will pay. When we go to the pump, sir, the cost of fuel, gasoline or diesel, is going to be the same for every single person who goes to purchase. When we go to the doctor, sir, the doctor doesn't charge one price for people from one part of Barbados and another price somewhere else. We all must pay the same price. Thankfully, we have a hospital that will also cater to others who cannot pay the price. But the bottom line is to stay healthy, whether it is the food we eat, whether it's our exercise, to join our gyms, whatever it is, sir. It requires that we pay the same price. All of that to say, therefore, sir, that with all of us facing the same cost of living, this government has sought to make sure that those who would most be affected in a negative way, that we provide some types of support. Sir, you would have heard our other colleagues here in this honorable house speak of the work that this government intends to ensure is done to cap VAT at the pumps, to make sure that we reduce excise taxes on gasoline. Sir, it costs for us to go to work and to go to school. It costs for us to see at nights. And that electricity bill, sir, that allows us to see at nights, the government has agreed to absorb 50% of the fuel adjustment part of that, saving Barbadians close to $15 every month. Sir, it costs to have children. And this budget looks at those who are having multiple births, twins and triplets, to provide a special allowance for them, $300 for twins and $600 for triplets, and for those who are having single children, to ensure that they are able to take the extra time they need to be able to stay at home and care for these children, not only the women, but also the fathers as well. Sir, it costs for persons who are taking care of elderly persons. We have many retired persons taking care of their elderly parents as well. And this budget seeks to ensure that those who are earning up to $75,000, up to the first $75,000 of those persons who are retired pensioners also taking care of others in their household, that $75,000, first $75,000 is completely tax-free, so that now they have more money in their pockets, $25,000 more exempted from tax than they would have had before this budget. It means that while we can't stop the tide of things to come in terms of cost of living and that are already here, we can certainly seek to leave more money in people's pockets where we are not able to give them additional monies. And sir, you will see that for those persons on the welfare, on the social services, welfare, you know, from this month here in March of 2026, the rate went up to 30% more, by 30%. And the intention, as proposed in this budget, is for there to be an additional $1,200 a year on top of that as part of the additional support. Sir, it has often been said by our middle class that we do a lot for those who are working class and a lot for those who are challenged financially, be it temporarily or on a more persistent basis. And for the middle class, this budget also delivers. The budget has ensured that those persons who are bringing in electric cars, that they remain free of certain duties and taxes, reduced in a significant way, not free, but reduced. Let me correct myself. It has ensured, again, they will also benefit from the support that this government is giving with regards to offsetting the expense on their electricity bills. For all primary school students, and I am sure that our minister responsible for education will talk about it, this government promised that, again, to help families deal with cost of living, we would introduce a program of Extend the Feeding Program. Extend the Feeding Program from just lunch to include breakfast. And this is no matter what type of income background you come from, all Barbadian children will benefit. Sir, the appropriations bill that just passed is something that I feel very pleased about. I see that there is significant resources that will be put into ensuring that our infrastructure, our road infrastructure, that our infrastructure for water will be, in fact, supported through the additional resources provided. In this budget, I am happy to see that there's support for those persons who want to put in water tanks and septic tanks and other types of tanks in their homes, and this certainly supports the program, the Waterworks program I started in my constituency, where we have put water tanks in over 45 houses, and we have supported over 7 farmers in continuing to ensure that they have irrigation water. The taxes that people will save on these tanks will allow more people to be able to afford better for their homes and for their farms. I am supportive of that. Sir, even with much of the road works that we are expecting to continue through this year, as we would have seen provided for in the estimates of expenditure, I am happy to hear that a part of that effort will be traffic management. This morning, sir, as I came in here early, no less than 6 of my colleagues in here complained about the traffic. It took some people more than an hour and a half to get from parts of St. James and St. Lucie. And sir, I mention this because I left home at 7:26 this morning, and it took me until about minutes after 9 to get here. And I am happy to hear, and I encourage the people of St. Philip, and especially those from St. Philip West, to go to Princess Margaret on March the 25th, because that is where the consultations on traffic, particularly for that area, will be done. You heard yesterday the Minister of Finance in the delivery of the budgetary proposals speak of traffic management being a significant part of the work we will continue to do. And I am happy to hear in these budgetary proposals that consultations, the people who use the roads every day, who are part of the communities where there are traffic jams, that they will be a part of the process of determining how we move forward with traffic. I have heard the complaint from the people in Emerald Park West who have said that even with a Kentucky coming on the opposite side of Chefette up there, that they're happy for the food, but they understand that that is going to add to the congestion in 6 roads. And so, sir, I am inviting all the constituents of St. Philip West and indeed of St. Philip to come out to Princess Margaret on March the 25th. I am also happy to hear, sir, that as it relates to citizen security, that police station is meant to be part of the Civic Center in 6 roads. It will serve the entire area, of course, but I'm happy to say that it is being situated in St. Philip West. And part of that Civic Center, sir, where there will not only be the police station, there will also be the magistrate's court, and there will be the fire service, and there will be the post office, and there will be an ambulance bay. And I believe that bringing those services closer to the people of St. Philip is something that we have called for a long time. And on behalf of the people of St. Philip West, I want to say to this Barbados Labour Party, we thank you for the Civic Service Center. And we see it already starting to go up. Sir, when it also comes to our security, I am pleased to see in this budget that customs duties and VAT on security systems and burglar alarms for the homes will in fact be removed from April. April 1st. Sir, I am glad to hear in this budget that the GPS devices that will help to track vehicles and cameras on the dashboards will be duty and VAT-free as well. Sir, it is important to think what the government will be doing to help us with our own security, but we also have personal responsibility for ensuring that we do what we need to do to take care of our own property and of our own persons. Sir, when we think of budgets, we often think of the numbers. You know, will there be more tax? Will there be less taxes? Will there be more money spent? Will there be less? We think of numbers, sir. But the truth is, this budget does not live unless people participate in making it happen. And this is the point at which I want to shift slightly to the ministry for which I have some responsibility, which is the Ministry of the Public Service. Mr. Speaker, you know that we have a lot of talented people within our public service. Very talented. We have a lot of skilled people within our public service. But the culture of the public service has not always been focused on solving problems. It has been focused on getting the process and the paperwork right, not always on solving problems with urgency and with the finality that is required to make sure that the same problems do not repeat themselves again. It is certainly the intention of this Barbados Labour Party government to continue to work with our public servants to make sure that some of the things put right here in this budget can in fact be executed. We see in this budget there's talk about a beneficial, ownership registry that will help to give transparency to who really owns money and who really benefit from the businesses. And that is good for Barbados, because as we create greater transparency and we're more responsible in doing these things, it keeps us off the many lists around the world that will cause Barbados to have a bad reputation. But sir, if we as the public service and as public officers do not make sure that we have put in place the type of team and the type of unit that can administer this properly, this would just be a budgetary proposal, but implementation will not be right. We see in this budget, sir, that as part of trying to improve the system of justice, there are 2 gun courts. There will be 2 gun courts. That's proposed. The honourable member for the city will likely speak on that. However, sir, they cannot happen unless we actually set them up properly in the way that takes people, sir. We talk about the fact that there are all these different subsidies or supports or removals of VAT and duty, but these cannot work unless people do what they're supposed to do. We had a survey on the state of digital learning in Barbados. And one of the things that it found is that the problem is not that when it comes to people who are tech savvy and understand the digital world and can implement what needs to be done to improve efficiency and to be more productive, that it was not the people who were being hired that had a deficiency. In fact, the survey showed that Barbados was able to hire, for the most part, whether it's in the private sector or in government, the persons with the requisite skills to be able to work in a workplace powered by digital. The problem was the people already within government and within the private sector, most of whom were at the management and supervisory level, which is where we need to put our effort in terms of developing our talent. And this budget offers 75% from government for those businesses seeking to digitize and to digitalize their processes. This Barbados government, we are getting ready to launch a digital academy for the public service, and I thank the honourable member for St. James South, who would have worked on this before I came to this ministry. The need for us to create opportunities. We have worked also, sir, before I continue, with the National Transformation Initiative, which I must say, has already started to curate courses for leaders in digital learning and others, and they have already done it specific to 5 ministries. They will continue to build out the curated content for digital learning for the rest of government. I say all this to say, sir, that no matter how encouraged we are by the budget, unless we as homeowners go out and get those cameras to help protect our property, unless the farmers go out and do what they need to do in terms of ensuring they can benefit from the measures in here for those who are using natural fertilizers, unless the churches go out and build the community programs for which $5 million was set aside in this budget to support them in their community outreach, unless they themselves go out as humans and do the work, all of the measures here will be for naught. What I am saying, sir, as I close, is that a budget is more than numbers. The budget is really about people choosing to participate and ensure that this country and they individually can actually participate and benefit from the measures within this budget. Sir, I intend over the next several months to be working within the constituency of St. Philip West to ensure that our people have opportunities to learn more, to become educated, become aware, and to truly become active participants in the work of this Barbados and to benefit from all of these measures within the budget. Sir, with that, I thank you.
Honourable member for St. John.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I rise in full support of this budget for 2026-2027. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I felt as if the honourable member for Christchurch East Central was speaking to me. I've coached basketball for more than 20 years, and similar to the officer here, one of the things that we always tell our team, regardless of the situation, to finish strong. And yesterday, he finished with strength that I think only he could have conjured up on the day. And the reason why I posit that I identify with what he was saying, because he mentioned the process of crawling before you run, and I am familiar with that. Because, Mr. Speaker, I'm the father of 3 children, and I crawled for many years to ensure that my children were put in a position that they can run. And I'm certain that the good people of St. John are placed in a position where if they're stagnant, they can move, and those who are able to run will be able to finish the race at some point in time. And I want to say here thanks to the constituents of St. John who felt it was necessary for me to be a part of the process of being in this August chamber to represent them and to represent the needs that they have in the constituency of St. John. And one of the reasons, Mr. Speaker, that I came to Parliament was exactly for that reason. The fact that I was able to allow my children to run, I believe the onus is on me now to make sure that individuals within the constituency of St. John can run and run at a pace that they will be satisfied they can complete the race and do podium in their own right. The budget yesterday, Mr. Speaker, provided an opportunity for my constituents to grow, for my constituents to reap some of the benefits of a government that is caring. The cost of living and energy relief that came yesterday in the budget would benefit, I believe, every single household within the constituency of St. John, and I give thanks for that. Members before me, and I don't think I need at this time to repeat every single aspect of the budget in relation to how it reads down to the constituency of St. John. I heard the Honourable Member for St. Lucie speaking about how it will benefit his constituents, and I'm sure that mine will benefit as well. And I'm humble, absolutely humble, to be a part of a process. You know, I have a daughter who said to me, "Dad, you're not a politician, you're a man in politics." And I embrace that because, Mr. Speaker, at my age and at this time in my life, I don't fake moves. What you see is what you get. And it is a situation where, even though it is difficult to say this, when I look around at my colleagues, I believe that I am the least among the apostles. But I press on. Mr. Speaker, to be a member of this team, and again, I want to stress the gratitude that I have for the people of St. John and my team who assisted in relation to us being involved in the elections. And I also want to use this forum to express gratitude to the Prime Minister for her role in the process. Because if ever there was an oxymoron, then this would be it. Because the Prime Minister came to St. John and it was whispering thunder. Mr. Speaker, I am humble as well to be functioning in the capacity of Minister of Sports. And this government would have done things to impact the lives of so many young people in this country through the project that I call sports. And I want to take this opportunity to speak a little bit about the ministry that I'm responsible for and some of the things that we're doing to move the needle forward as it relates to the sports project on Island. And I heard the Honourable Member for St. Lucie, and I want to address his concerns in relation to the placing of the 400-meter track in the north of the island. And one of the things that we looked at in terms of placing that particular facility would have been the accessibility to those persons who would use the facility. And to go extreme north, it was not really feasible. So we looked at a location that is on the coast that would provide maximum use of the facility at that particular location that is being proposed in Trent. And the other one is coming to St. Philip at Bushy Park. And Mr. Speaker, I was really, really pleased to hear the Honourable Member for Christchurch East mention that funds will be allocated in this financial year, East Central, to facilitate those additional 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And part of the process that even as I'm standing here today, we have one team of swimmers from a school, college in Canada that is on island looking to prepare for the upcoming season. And I had reason again to go back to the Ministry of Education, and I want to thank the Ministry of Education for allowing them the opportunity to train at the facility where our Carifta team is training. But you can understand that with 2 additional Olympic-sized pools on island, there's an opportunity for us to be able to outsource those facilities to make money for the country at this time of the year when we have teams coming to the island. In addition to that, it would provide, as I explained before, an opportunity to grow the sports of swimming on island by providing those additional locations for our young people in the northern side and the eastern side, because I can see where youngsters from the constituency of St. John can traverse to Bushy Park to be able to practice their craft of swimming, or if they need to engage in water polo, it provides another opportunity for them to be there. What else is happening in sports, Mr. Speaker? We have a situation where, as a direct result of this government being proactive, we have been given a budget that, in my estimation, was unmatched ever as it relates to sports on this island. And we have done the work in terms of bringing the infrastructure up to scratch. I would have visited the Wildy Gymnasium to have a first-hand look at the glass court that we are putting at that location that will again redound to the benefit of not only players who would participate in their particular discipline, but provide an opportunity to really and truly engage in sports tourism, where now we can see invitational tournaments coming to the island and having a facility that is world-class to highlight and to showcase what Barbados is offering in terms of sports. Mr. Speaker, last year we staged a block T20 competition. A block T20 competition that, and I think I would have mentioned here in Parliament that even from the jump, those persons who were involved in the process, it was absolutely clear that that competition was successful even before it reached the finals of that tournament. Because there were 2 young men who their fathers were incarcerated for X amount of years, and these 2 young men were drifting in a direction that we would not want to see them go as a government, as a father, as any caring individual. And the fact that they were able to get involved in the block T20 competition, it brought a level of structure to their life that was not known prior to them being involved in any type of organized sports. And that, for me, was a win at that point in time. We have badminton and squash that, in a sense, is squatting, if I may use that word, at different locations in order to play their particular discipline. And government felt it was necessary to construct a structure that would now be a home for badminton and squash at the Wildy complex. And I'm sure that those individuals who are involved in that discipline are extremely pleased in relation to being able now to have a facility that they can call their very own. Beach volleyball is something that is an international sport. It is played at the Olympics. There's a lot of money that is involved for those persons who engage in beach volleyball. And government saw it fit in terms of rolling out the projects at Wildy to construct such a court at that particular location to make sure that we can now have beach volleyball tournaments in a way that will not impact those individuals who would have gone to the beach in order to have a sea bath or just to relax. We have constructed that particular facility. The 400 track, Mr. Speaker, at Wildy is, I would say at this point in time, about 90% completed, because we have laid the track. We're now looking to do the infill. The final phase of that particular project will entail the construction of a facility that will allow those teams who want to change to be able to do that and to have the normal toilet facilities at the location. Mr. Speaker, the National Sports Council, as we know it, is in transition, and we're just going through the final stages of moving that to Sports Barbados to make that particular organization now fit for sports on island, because we have identified that there are some gaps that we need to fill, and the only way that we can do that is to ensure that we repurpose the National Sports Council and to bring a new entity that is required if we're going to compete with the international countries and the international athletes. We need to have a facility that is fit for purpose, and I dare say that we are at an advanced stage in making sure that the National Sports Council is repurposed and Sports Barbados would be the new entity that is coming on the shores of this island. The National Sports Policy, I brought it here, Mr. Speaker, and we have started the process of engaging now in the national sports, the strategy to roll out the policy. And we believe that with technology and all of the things that are happening, that we should have a sports policy that is, again, I use those words, fit for purpose as it relates to what we're trying to do with sports on island. Part of the process this year, I would have mentioned here in the well, is we need to look to see now how we can monetize sports. How best can we make Barbados benefit from the billion-dollar industry that is attached to sports? And these are the things that we are looking to do as a government, as a ministry, to benefit our athletes. From right here in this chamber, the minister responsible for MIS would have indicated that he would have triggered an idea some time ago with a previous sports minister, one of my predecessors, about esports. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of youngsters on island who, in their downtime, they engage in all of these e-games, esports, and we now need to bring this thing in a formal way, in a structured way, that we can have that particular project. While the Honourable member is saying he's involved in the process as well. So it is not only youngsters on island that are involved, but seniors too are involved in sports. So how then, I'm sorry, I take that back, sir. I take that back. But we need now to make sure that we can have our youngsters involved in that. The wider we go in relation to sports, I think it is best for us, because we open opportunities for our young people to see what it is out there that they're interested in. I believe that a message must go to parents, Mr. Speaker, that this is not just a fun thing, but it is a way of life. I mean, we have the opportunity to send individuals overseas on scholarships. We have an opportunity that money, real money, is made in terms of this. And we all of us know what it is when one of our athletes or team is on podium, the pride that is attached to that particular athlete and to the country as a whole. You just feel that there's a lightness on island. For example, when Shadea Williams would have won at the Commonwealth, there was a total different situation on island, because there was a level of pleasure. I will not say that this is the situation in relation to our current West Indies team, but we're getting back there. Speaking of cricket, without divulging exactly what is happening in relation to that, I had a conversation with the owners of the CPL team here, the Barbados CPL team. And there's an initiative that, if it materializes, will be a first in the Caribbean that is being triggered here on island. But I don't want to say anything more about that, because I don't want to preface what it is that they will be saying when they reach there. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned just now the scholarships, and this government would have felt it necessary to provide scholarships for our young student athletes who are looking to go to the United States. And by that I mean, some time ago there were two individuals who were charging between $450 and $600 to prep our student athletes to do the SAT programs in the States. And I know for sure that their parents, single mothers in the constituency of St. John, who would have been unable to pay $450, far less than $600, to prepare their young athletes to be able to source that training. And government, through my ministry, decided that we were going to take the responsibility of providing that service to all of those young people on island who are interested in becoming an athlete in the States. And today we would have graduated, so to speak, close to 100 individuals who sourced that training at the ministry to provide an opportunity for those youngsters then to be able to do what they're supposed to do in terms of getting their education and at the same time honing their skills in their respective sports, whether it be track, whether it be basketball, the opportunity was there for them. Beach football, another area that was lacking on island, and government felt it was necessary through my ministry to give new impetus to rebirth beach football. And as mentioned, the Prime Minister's Cup that is being facilitated through my ministry as well was running parallel to the beach football competition that we staged at Bronx Beach and down at the beach down Brandon's. And 350 youngsters turned up for a competition that was coming back for the first time on island. And we were able to successfully stage that tournament. And I would have asked the organizer from my ministry to look to see how we can do talent identification from that particular competition to ensure then that we can hold a grouping of youngsters together to form our national team that we can then participate either in regional competitions or international competitions. And the skill sets, Mr. Speaker, coming from the competition was one that I was absolutely blown away with, because I believe that all of our young people must be given an opportunity to move from being diamonds in the rough to shining, absolutely shining stars. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot to be done still in sports. Our national stadium is moving at a pace, and I would have said that, it was a cry across this country as to when the national stadium would have been started, to the extent where I too feel that I had to ask the Minister of Sports when it was going to be started. But now we have structure up, and last report, like I said, that I got, we were ahead of the curve as far as that is concerned. This week, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, as a matter of fact, I held a meeting with BASA to see how we can trigger a speedy solution to the issues that we're having at the Aquatic Center. And I'm satisfied coming out of the meeting with BASA and the BOA that we will be in a position soon to have that location up and running again. On Saturday, Mr. Speaker, I held another meeting with basketball, netball, and volleyball in relation to the scheduling of the floor space at the old netball stadium that will now become that facility for those three disciplines. And I walked away being satisfied that we would have found a solution in terms of how we're able to stage the basketball, volleyball, and netball without them having a collision in terms of the usage of that particular location. So, Mr. Speaker, again, if I am to return to the budget, this is a budget that I think maybe one of the reasons or part of the reasons why I got involved in elective government, to be a part of a government that is proactive, a government that is progressive, a leader who is doing what is supposed to be done to ensure that all of us are able to take country forward. And by country, my constituency of St. John is included in that. And I would have seen the benefits, and I can surely see the additional benefits that will be derived from this budget for those individuals within the constituency. Unfortunately, there's some that will exclude me because I don't think the benefits of having twins and triplets will be part of my remit anymore. You know, I'm just saying. I've already purchased that the dash cam, so that is now to be installed, so it would not benefit me. But I'm sure that individuals from within the constituency hearing these initiatives within this budget, it will only benefit them in the long run and by extension the country as a whole. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few words, I totally endorse this budget, and I want to let the country know, to rest assured that the sports project in this particular country is alive and well. I thank you.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension until 10 minutes to 12.
The question is that this Honourable Chairman be suspended until 11:50 a.m. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. The meeting, the ayes have it. This Honourable Chairman stands suspended until 11:50 a.m. The sitting is resumed. Prior to the suspension, this honorable chairman was in debate with the budgetary proposals and financing statement 2026. We continue with that. Honorable Member for St. Joseph.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in this honorable chamber with a heart full of gratitude. First and foremost, I want to give thanks to Almighty God, whom I acknowledge as the author and finisher of my faith in guiding me to this moment, and in whom I have the confidence that his favor will continue to guide me in my political journey. I am eternally grateful to my family, whose sacrifice and patience, encouragement and unwavering support has sustained me along this path. Public life is never a solitary undertaking, and I stand here strengthened by their love and their belief in me. Mr. Speaker, I must also express my sincere appreciation to the people of St. Joseph, the confidence they placed in me, and the overwhelming support that they have shown me. It is both humbling and deeply inspiring. They entrusted me with the responsibility to stand in this honorable house to represent their voices, their hopes, and their aspirations. St. Joseph is not simply the constituency that I represent. It is the community that shaped me, more specifically the remote community of Hackerton's Cliff, where I grew up and where I first learned the values of hard work, resilience, and service, and where many of the realities that Barbadians face today are most clearly felt. To stand here today on their behalf is not only an honor, but it is a profound responsibility. To stand here not only amongst comrades, but next to my family and my friends is an even greater privilege, which I do not take for granted. And so, Mr. Speaker, I stand here today not only as a representative for St. Joseph, but as the youngest member in a post-independence Barbados to represent that constituency. Sir, I am fully conscious of the legacy upon which I now stand. A legacy built by giants. I walk in the footsteps of Sir Grantley Adams, Charles Lindsay Bolden, Sir Richard Cheltenham, and my friend Dale Marshall. Men who have each left an indelible mark on the political landscape of this country and helped to shape Barbados into what it is today. All giants of the Barbados Labour Party. And Mr. Speaker, I fully intend to build on that legacy and to leave my own mark of service, delivery, and meaningful change for the people of St. Joseph. It is in that spirit, sir, that I rise to make my contribution to this debate in full support of the budgetary proposals 2026 to 2027. So, Mr. Speaker, in examining this budget, I ask a simple but important question. How will the measures outlined translate into meaningful improvement in the lives of ordinary Barbadians, and more specifically, people of St. Joseph? My constituency is one of the most beautiful parts of Barbados. But it is also one of the constituencies that has faced long-standing challenges. Challenges in infrastructure, housing, and transportation. And I used to say water, but under the Barbados Labour Party, we've been able to fix many of those challenges in water. Many of my constituents have been forced to leave St. Joseph in search of housing and employment, and many families continue to confront daily realities that require deliberate and sustained intervention. It is therefore my responsibility in this debate to examine how the measures contained in these budgetary proposals can help to address these realities. Mr. Speaker, this budget is not by accident. It is a product of discipline, of careful thought, and a government that understands the weight of responsibility placed on it by the people of Barbados. It reflects the covenant made with the people, a covenant that was not only spoken of in the manifesto, but overwhelmingly endorsed by the electorate. And so when we speak of these measures today, we must acknowledge that they carry the blessing of the people of Barbados. They are not abstract policies, they are promises made, and they are promises being kept. Mr. Speaker, we have already begun to deliver as a government. The increase in the reverse tax credit from $1,300 to $1,700 for those earning up to $25,000 per annum, and the expansion of eligibility to those earning up to $35,000, ensuring that those individuals now receive $750 are not just figures on paper. They represent real relief for thousands of Barbadians, including many in St. Joseph, who are feeling the pressure of a rising cost of living. For low-income families, for young workers trying to find their footing, for households who are striving to make ends meet, this is meaningful support. More money to buy groceries, extra money to pay bills. Mr. Speaker, the introduction of cost of living assistance for pensioners, $100 per month for those earning under $50,000, is another clear demonstration that this government has not forgotten those who have built this country, the most vulnerable persons among us, pensioners. In the communities in my constituency of Bathsheba, Lamins, and Paris Hill, where many households rely on fixed incomes, this measure will bring dignity, relief, and much reassurance. The increase in the trust loan ceiling from $10,000 to $20,000 is equally significant. It opens doors for small entrepreneurs, and I know a little bit about entrepreneurship, particularly young people who have ideas, skills, and ambition, but just need that little berry to be able to move their enterprise forward. Mr. Speaker, the Barbados Labour Party understands what it means to keep faith with the people. These are promises made, and these are promises kept. But, Mr. Speaker, while we commend these measures, we must also remain honest about the realities that continue to face our people. Mr. Speaker, we know that the cost of living remains a concern because energy sits at the center of almost every economic activity. When fuel prices increase, transportation costs rise, and that directly increases the cost of moving goods across the island. Those higher transport costs are then reflected in the prices that we see in the supermarket. In construction, which I know little about, the impact is even more direct. Higher fuel costs increase the price of importing materials, increase the cost of operating heavy equipment, and increase the cost of transporting aggregates, steel, and concrete. These increases ultimately drive up the overall cost of building and development. And of course, these costs have to be then passed on to the homeowners and the wider economy. The Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central made it clear that energy costs sit at the center of these pressures, influencing every aspect of economic life. And so while I support the measures in these budgetary proposals to cushion these impacts, as a government, we must also continue to pursue long-term solutions that reduce our dependence on imported energy and strengthen our national resilience. Mr. Speaker, while this budget provides immediate relief, it also lays a strong foundation for the future of this country. Because the true measure of a budget is not only how it responds to today's challenges, but how it prepares a nation for tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, this budget makes it clear that the future of Barbados is one that is driven by its people, particularly its young people. Through initiatives such as the expansion of structured youth programs, international exposure opportunities, and investment in skills and development, we are equipping our young people to not just participate in this economy, but, sir, to lead it. Mr. Speaker, the emphasis on the digital economy and skills development signals clearly that Barbados is positioning itself to compete in a global technology-driven world. We are preparing our young people to engage in new industries, to work remotely, to innovate, and to build enterprises that are not limited by geography, which I also know a little bit about. The increase in access to financing for small businesses, the easing of administrative burdens, and a recognition of a growing digital and entrepreneurial class all point to a Barbados that is evolving and a Barbados that we can all be proud of. A Barbados where young people are not only seeking jobs, but creating them. A Barbados where innovation is encouraged. A Barbados where opportunity is not confined, but opportunity is expanded. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not only managing an economy, but we are shaping a new generation. And if we get it right, the young people of this country will not only inherit a Barbados that we can be proud of, but they will also transform it. I must speak directly, Mr. Speaker, to the young people of this country. As a young person, I understand their aspirations. I also understand the frustrations. And I understand the desire for opportunity. So this budget must work for the young people of this country. Young people must see themselves reflected in leadership. They must know that they are not only the future, but they have a role to play now and to play today, and they have a role to play even in this honorable chamber. And if my presence here serves as any example, let it be this. Let it be that people understand that no matter where you have come from, that you can rise to serve, you can rise to lead, and you can certainly rise to make a difference. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this budget because it reflects discipline, it reflects compassion, and it reflects promises made by this great Barbados Labour Party and promises which have already been kept. This budget does not only serve to look good on paper, but it must work in practice. It must work for my constituents. It must work for the young man in Lamins seeking opportunity. It must work for the mother in Branchbury striving to provide for their families. It must work for the pensioner on Hackleton's Cliff who deserves dignity and comfort in their evening years. If we continue as a government to match promise with performance, if we continue to put forward people-centered policy, we will inherit and we will create a Barbados that we will all be proud of. So in this new financial year, Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the promised development of housing at Ginger Works. We've been waiting long in St. Joseph. My constituents in Spa Hill, Chimborazo, deserve the opportunity to be able to relocate and to do so within the confines of St. Joseph. I look forward, Honourable Member for St. John, to the new pavilion at Lamins. I look forward to the completion of Melvin's Bridge and Erie Hill Bridge. I look forward eagerly to the continued road rehabilitation and bridge rehabilitation that connect several communities within St. Joseph. And it is not lost on me, Mr. Speaker, that St. Joseph and the wider Scotland District presents unique challenges that cannot be addressed through fragmented responsibilities across various ministries. It is time, sir, that this government revisits the establishment of the Scotland District Authority, one that can coordinate, manage, and address the unique challenges that face the Scotland District. And the Scotland District is a part of Barbados that is so very important to us. So, in closing, sir, I wish again to express my support for these budgetary proposals, 2026 to 2027. I want to again thank the people, the good people of St. Joseph, for sending your son here. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I am obliged to you.
Honorary member for St. James North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to, at the onset, lend my unequivocal support to the budget 2026 as outlined by the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central yesterday. And I really want to place on record how pleased and happy I am, not just at his presentation, but the way in which he was able to clearly set out a path for the way forward, not just for the economy of Barbados, and in particular in this financial year, but how do we as a country build resilience, cohesiveness, whilst at the same time ensuring all of the areas of opportunity and meeting challenge head-on can be addressed in a way that will bring pride to our country. And therefore, the theme of the presentation, Greater Will Our Nation Grow, certainly resonates with me. But not just me, Mr. Speaker. I've received a number of calls and WhatsApps from constituents in St. James North within the last 24 hours who have also commended Minister Strong, the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, who have said that they are not only proud, but this budget has a different feel to it. And it now is igniting even further a greater sense of optimism and brighter hopes for our people, the young generation, those not so young, and perhaps those who may be in their twilight years, but at the same time helping us to forge ahead in a world that continues to be unpredictable, but it therefore presents us as a country to be able to chart a path and to do what we do best in Barbados as a people, to lead and to go where no man has gone before. And what is also very remarkable about this budget is that it outlines, yes, where we've come from, and of course, this party, this government, will continue to deliver, being mindful of where we've come from prior to 2018, but not resting there, Mr. Speaker, and focusing on where we're going to take this country to meet those challenges and opportunities head on. And running through the theme of the budget has been a theme, to my mind, which comes at the ideal time for reflection. And what do I mean? I've said it many, many times before. I've said it throughout our recently concluded election process. And that there's no secret, Mr. Speaker, this year, of course, marks 60 years of independence, 5 years as a republic, and therefore, all of the successes that we've had as a country, all of the challenges that we've had as a country, all of the things that we now must bring to bear going forward, looking towards the next 60, must now anchor us in the way that will allow for us now, to use a cricket analogy, to start to play some shots, but sensible shots. Because sometimes, if the bowling looks sweet, and you don't read the wicket well and where the fielding is placed, and you step outside the crease, you might either get bull, caught and slip, or you run on the wicket and you get run out. So therefore, the country must now be in a mode that, yes, whilst we're now enjoying growth in the economy, we're seeing significant signs of turnaround. There's investor confidence, there's confidence both in the domestic and international markets. How do we build our people? How do we expand resilience? How do we expand confidence whilst at the same time being responsible and keeping our eye on the ball and playing the ball one by one each time going forward? And it therefore allows for us to focus on a few things. And before I get into focusing on where we're going with respect to budget through the lens of education, I also want to speak very briefly on some constituency matters, or matters rather that affect my constituency and many others. The Honourable Member for St. Lucie this morning, to my mind, would have spoken very clearly on the north of Barbados, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, as a man who knows the north very well, you would appreciate the fact that the north continues to be a place where major development, major hopes of our people must now coincide with the further development of Barbados. But in order for us to do so, we have to address some fundamental things to be able to unlock that potential. And I'm happy to see the measures as outlined in the budget with respect to ensuring that the traffic situation and building out the infrastructure to ease the traffic and congestion, not just in the north, but across Barbados. That certainly is one of the comments that rung through coming from my constituents over the last 24 hours in helping us to now ease where we go. And I want to commend the Minister of Finance, and I look forward to the rollout of the town halls by the Honourable Member for St. Michael South and his team, so as to walk the country through where we are going, but equally to listen to our people, Mr. Speaker. What are some of the ideas that they can have to ensure that we can now not just build out the North's potential, but across the length and breadth of Barbados to ensure that as we grow and we access vehicles, that the broader issue of transport and ease is now brought to bear as well. But as I said, this budget not only talks about where we've come from and where we are, but as the Honourable Member for St. Philip West rightly said this morning, it focuses on the future, and where do we go and how do we get there. And one such vehicle, Mr. Speaker, is through that of education. And a lot, of course, is happening in the education space and the education sector, not just now, but from the time that the Barbados Labour Party has come to office in 2018. Minister after minister, right up until this point, have laid the foundation for us to be able to now not just deliver education in the 21st century reality, but to deliver education in a way that, one, is fit for purpose, whilst at the same time relooking how we educate our people, what we educate them with, what are the tools necessary, what is the training necessary, how do we ensure that we have not just the best teachers anywhere in the world, but they too can rise within their profession to aspire to even higher than they have before. How do we ensure that our students and our teachers and those who come into contact with our facilities are proud of the infrastructure that they engage with, bearing in mind, Mr. Speaker, that our facilities, in many respects, are between 50 years old and 200 years old. And therefore, when you're talking about transformation and reform of education, particularly from the lens of infrastructure, it also means two things. One, responding to day-to-day needs in the system, whether that be at a primary school, whether it might be an issue with a door or a window or plumbing, but then also more structural issues that may need to be addressed, whilst at the same time ensuring that you can modernize the facilities to incorporate new modes of pedagogy, and how do we teach our children in new ways that is not just the traditional teacher at the front of the class and you're having persons sitting in rows and columns, but now getting students to engage. And that is why it's also so important that student activism is key. And the ministry has been, for a number of years now, actively engaging with our student council And where they didn't exist, I think this would have also started the Honourable Member for St. Philip West, where student councils didn't exist. You went in and gave the schools the capacity, working with the teachers, working with the students. And now we have a thriving student council movement across Barbados. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, the National Student Council executive at the secondary level, I'm told that they're on the eve of having a new executive election process. And they've promised me that it will be an exciting time in that process. And what do I mean? We have to encourage our students to be craftsmen of their faith. And many of them will want to aspire and come into these hallowed chambers. But equally, leadership isn't only about politics. Leadership, of course, is about ensuring that they have access to the right skills to go into any endeavor. And this year promises to be an exciting one for their campaigning, because I'm told that they're going to be going from school to school, convincing their other peers, even outside of their space, to be able to persuade them to have them to be elected to the National Student Council. And I want to commend them for that. But more specifically, we have to build on a number of things. And this budget, to my mind, creates the space, the economic space, the fiscal space, the policy space, to allow for government, and this government in particular, to be able to do things that, of course, we've started to do or wanted to do in earnest, but because of different external shocks and financial realities, we had to claw back a bit. But now we're able to now move in even greater earnest than we have before. And, of course, in recently concluded estimates process, I would have outlined 6 key pillars that would allow for us to deliver on these things. And I'm not going to go through all of them this morning, Mr. Speaker, but the one that I really want to focus on this morning, particularly in the context of this budget, is ensuring that we understand and help the country to understand that education now is not simply only about a child and academic performance. Yes. Is it important? Absolutely yes. Is it sufficient? No. And therefore, we're looking now at the entire child, the whole child, the emotional aspect of our child, emotional intelligence. How do we ensure that they have what we call SAFE, the skills, the attitudes, the values, and the excellence, so as that whenever they leave school, and even before they leave school, that they can navigate the world. Because in effect, this is what we're preparing them for, to be able to go anywhere in the world, and not only to succeed. And as a mother, Shawnette, met me in the gas station. She says, Mr. Blackman, I have a young child. Well, sorry, I have a young grandchild, I have a child. And I like what you guys are doing. I realize now that you're creating new opportunities for them. But what we need from the ministry is to not just to help them to succeed, but to help them to be able to dominate anywhere that they can go. And this is really what it's about. But in order for us to be able to do so, we have to give them the tools necessary. How do they navigate conflict? How do they control their emotions and to be able to make wise choices? And in order to do that, we're also moving away from the traditional examination mode, where you just test a child on a given day in an exam, but through project-based learning, inquiry, being able to work with their peers in class, in school, school to school, so that they now have a greater appreciation of ideas and concepts. And this is where we're taking them, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we have to start at the foundation. And that is why I'm happy that, as you've heard before, this coming September, all parents in Barbados, particularly parents of those at the early childhood level, will have universal access to early childhood education in Barbados, Mr. Speaker. And this is a proud moment for Barbados. And what is the science showing? The science has shown that yes, our children will go to school, let's say from 4 or 5, and they will do the traditional things. But the science has shown, Mr. Speaker, very clearly, particularly out of Asia, the Arab region, Africa, North America as well, Europe, that once you place the children in a formal way in an early childhood education system, giving them the tools of inquiry, play-based learning. It allows for them to now have all of the skills necessary to navigate life, and everything that they learn thereafter, as we say in Beijing, becomes gravy. So you're giving them now the foundational tools for mastering the ability to process things and to inquire. Now, at that age, are they going to learn everything in life? No, that is not it. But we're giving them now the foundational tools. And this government has determined that this is a priority if the education system that we're going to build, not just now, for the future. Because let's face it, our children will not stay children forever. They'll move from children into adolescence, into adulthood. But we must now build that foundation. And I liken this process of education transformation not only as a relay, but ultimately living in a small two-bedroom structure, doing your day-to-day things, but at the same time determining that you want to move from a small two-room structure into a 40-story building. And therefore, you now have to now do those things whilst you're still living in the place, building a new foundation, building all the different skills and everything with modern features. But you can have beautiful features, but if the foundation is not solid, then the building will not be fit for purpose. And in addition to that, that foundational element, Mr. Speaker, is about closing a number of gaps that have existed. And what do I mean? The issue of literacy. The issue of literacy continued, perhaps over the last 15 years or so, to be an issue in which the country had to grapple with, but there wasn't necessary interventions. And starting from my predecessors, coming right down, you've made it very clear that in order to ensure that our people can read, and not just call words, Mr. Speaker, but read and understand what they're reading, critical thinking, being able to navigate the space of learning, it is therefore necessary that we had to come up with an aggressive literacy program. And I'm happy about where we've come from and where we're going, but we cannot rest on our laurels. And I want to, if you permit me, Mr. Speaker, to publicly commend Ms. Janelle Little of the Ministry of Education Transformation, who heads our literacy program, and who has, in a very short time, particularly working with the different interventions that we've rolled out, start to see now the closing of the gaps. And I want to share, thank you. And I want to share some figures so as to put it in context, because it's one thing, of course, to highlight these things, but the public also needs to know what we've been able to do. And so far, you've had 67 primary schools covered in this process, 11 secondary schools, Mr. Speaker, 4 special education schools. But importantly, what we've been able to now see is that the pre-assessment, which therefore looked at where children were at before we assessed them in terms of their literacy gaps. At the reception level, their competency was 36%. In a short period of time, and I'm talking months, those same students have now gone from 36 to 45%. At the infants A level, pre-assessment, they were at 23%, Mr. Speaker. And after that, almost double at 41%. And we are not stopping there, because why? We have determined that by December 2026, which is this year, that children by the age of 7 and 8 must be able to read and understand at their level, Mr. Speaker. And I want to commend them for what they're able to do. But I also want to touch on another aspect of the foundational elements of education. We can do all of these things, Mr. Speaker. Have fantastic infrastructure, modern facilities, the best teachers in the world, best training. But if our children on morning, before they start school, do not have something in their tummies, we can do all of these things. But what we want to get them to go through and understand will not be achieved in the same way. And why is that? They will be hungry. And The stats have made a very clear picture for us that up to 1/4 of our children at the primary school level, Mr. Speaker, have been having some challenges with respect to having breakfast. And we have determined as a government that from September 2026, every child in this country in our public schools will have breakfast at primary school in Barbados through the expansion. And we're going to do so through an expansion, of course, of the school meals department. And we're right now working earnestly, and we will be updating the public on the process and the progress, but working earnestly in helping us to be able to deliver that for our people. As I said, this budget allows for us to do these things on behalf of the country. But it's also about preparing us for the long term. And this is one of the things that is remarkable about this budget. And what do I mean? We live in a world, Mr. Speaker, where in Barbados, of course, there are two modes of communication and language that we use. First, Bajan, and of course, formerly English. But we don't simply live in a Bajan world or in an English world, notwithstanding, of course, English is the majority language in terms of formal engagement in business and work, etc. But in a globalized world where we're asking and telling our people, in order for us to succeed even further, we have to prepare you to be able to engage with your counterparts and to be able to share your ideas around the world. And it therefore means that language and foreign language must be part and parcel of that delivery. And we've had a very interesting relationship historically, Mr. Speaker, with respect to languages. In secondary school, certainly when I was there, you would do French, Spanish, up to second or third form. And then at third form, you would have the option to, as they say, drop your language and then choose other subjects. But more and more and more, Mr. Speaker, you realize that in a globalized world, and therefore also to ensure that our people can be competitive, not just now, but well into the future, we have to give our people the opportunity to be able to master languages. And I'm therefore very happy about the progress that we've made, and I want to commend the Honourable Minister of Finance for working, of course, with CAF and the SOMOS initiative. Of course, SOMOS in Spanish means we are, and it's very fitting because if we are to collectively build out the potential of this country, we must take a collective view on how do we now build out those tools, and this is one key part. And as you've heard, a team of students, a group of students from the St. Leonard's Boys School, a school with a rich history in foreign languages, and in particular Spanish, is going off very, very shortly to Panama, where they'll be able to engage with their counterparts there, learning the culture, the language, the music, the business, but in a foreign language. And I must say, Mr. Speaker, that is important. I'll give you a very real but very brief example. I would have done languages throughout my secondary school life at Foundation. Went on to community college and did languages. But part of that, Mr. Speaker, the course was that you had to do either 2 weeks at the end of the studies, either in a French-speaking country or a Spanish-speaking country. And I went to Martinique with my classmates. And up to that point, Mr. Speaker, I thought I was the best French speaker in the world. A's and B's and everything. And it was only when I went to Martinique for those 2 weeks, we were living with a family who spoke zero English, Mr. Speaker. And the only time you spoke English is when you went with your counterparts in the bus during the day for the tours. But in the last week, you had to do an internship at the place of work in Martinique. And at the time, they placed me at the information desk in Martinique Airport. In Martinique Airport, Mr. Speaker. You can see where this is going. All of the French that I thought, mastered for 7 years from first to fifth form, and the first 2 years of the community college program, the first day, you had nerves because you had a lot of passengers coming from Paris and Guadeloupe and wherever across the world speaking in French. They want to know where you can go to find their bag. Where's the next flight? How do I, all the different things you can think about in normal airport activity. And I froze. But on day 2, I said, Chad, you cannot embarrass yourself, your mother, your school, nor your country. And the person working in the office worked with me. But you see, by day 3, Mr. Speaker, my French went through the roof. Because why? Immersion, 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 immersion. And I'm sure that those young men who are very good at St. Leonard's School, who've mastered Spanish up to a certain point, I am almost guaranteeing that when they return to Barbados, through this SOMAS program, as facilitated by the Minister of Finance, we are going to see higher levels of Espanol from these young men. And this is the type of initiative. Now, we mustn't just stop at Spanish. Of course, this is a good start. But we live in a world where French, of course, in the relationships with the Arab region and Chinese, etc. But this government is committed in building out the capacity of Barbadians. But, Mr. Speaker, there's an initiative that is very close to my heart and that excites me, and I'm proud to be part of a team and government that looks not just now, but well into the future. And I'm talking about the establishment, of course, of the Global Young Bajans Fund. Capitalization, of course, of $2 million in its first instance, so as to ensure that we roll out the Secondary School International Exposure Initiative. This will transform a generation of young people. And why do I say so? Use myself as an example. I've come from humble origins, working class parents, and oftentimes growing up, you may think that the world is your gap, or your road, or your church, or your school, or the family that you go by on a weekend, etc. Not realizing that there's a whole world out there beyond your neighborhood and your immediate environment. And one of the things that has helped me, and I say it all the time when I could, is that at the time, coming through the Youth Council, CARICOM, Youth Ambassador, and at the time then Minister of Education, now Prime Minister, gave an ordinary young man like me from Vauxhall the opportunity not just to travel, but to hold responsibility at an early age and to be exposed into things that would allow you to understand how the world works. And that sparked a curiosity in me. Not necessarily sure what you want to do, because there are many things that you can do or aspire to, but knowing that there's something greater than my surroundings. And fast forward, the man you see today, Mr. Speaker, is a product of that process. But that has not been the experience of the ordinary Barbadian. But for the first time, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in the history of Barbados, this government and this country is now in a position to allow for young people from the age of 15, invariably whilst they're still at school, to be able to travel the world for a month. Not to go abroad and shop, Mr. Speaker, but to travel and to understand how the world works. Infrastructure, punctuality, business acumen, fashion, music, smell a different air. And therefore, what are one of the benefits of that? Not just the exposure in terms of potential partnerships and friends that you're going to make, but you help these young men and women to realize that there's a whole world out there pregnant with opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, young people, I'm sure, who have hitherto not been able to travel, will now be able to do so and to realize the things that I can aspire to be able to make myself proud, my mother and father, my community, my school, my country. And therefore, building a now new culture through this initiative will be strategic. But even at the secondary level, from September, in ensuring that that values-based education that we would have spoken about earlier is now running through our education system, is that for the first time, and you heard it announced yesterday by the Minister of Finance, part of the co-curricular structure of our schools at secondary level will be for every child now to be part of either a uniform organization, civic-based organization, or a team sport. And in order for you to complete your secondary education, Mr. Speaker, that must also be completed. And why are we doing this? Not just for saying that we want to do it, but we have to now give our young people the opportunity to learn how to, one, work with each other, understand the importance of working with teams, understand the importance of structure and organization and discipline. Because we can do all of this if our people are not exposed to and understand the rudiments of discipline. It will take them so far and no further. And we have determined that the future requires Bajans to be able to master values and to have it in your core every day. And we see it every day in the geopolitics of the world. We see it every day in everything. And one thing about the future is certain, is that there's uncertainty. But the education system must be able to prepare them for that uncertainty, that notwithstanding whatever may come before them, they're able to respond in a clear and articulate way. They're able to navigate things without anyone being able to trick them or to cause them to be hoodwinked. Because why? They're anchored by literacy and numeracy. They're able to stand tall with confidence. And that is why one of the things through the player-based learning and the different forms of assessment is that we're not just looking for you to be able to understand what you're learning, but also how do you stand with confidence, living our motto, pride in industry, and to be able to articulate what is in your head and in a way that people say, boy, that is the Bajan. And we have examples of it, of course, through many persons who have gone on and done very well for our country. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is just really for me to say this. The education transformation will continue at pace and continue to be able to deliver for what Bajans have asked for generations. But this generation, certainly as policymakers, but certainly also as a collective society, we are in this together. And this budget, to my mind, presents us with a launch pad, not just for now in the next financial year, but medium term and long term, to launch well into the future, preparing our children for that future where they will have to oftentimes make some tough decisions, but they will be anchored with these necessary skills and values to be able to make those determinations. And then lastly, I also just want to commend the Wealth Fund for our children born on November 30, 2021 or thereafter. Because what does that mean, Mr. Speaker? It means that children born after that period, by the time they finish school and they access that fund, they have a global, not just local, not just regional, but a global head start where they can now do different things through the right framework, having that finance to be able to start. This administration is making it clear that this budget 2026, Mr. Speaker, is about looking down the road and around the corner, preparing our people for the future. God bless Barbados, and God bless our country all. Thank you.
Honourable Leader of Government, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2 p.m.
The question is that this Honourable Chairman be suspended until 2 p.m. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. This honourable Chamber stands suspended until 2 p.m.